Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I invited my colleague and friend to join me in a conversation that I think concerns many people right now, especially in medical sales profession. COVID and pandemic has changed our lives in a very interesting and unexpected way this year, and I wanted to talk about it. I find that medical sales professionals are experiencing an absolutely unique scenario and a drastic change that this whole situation brought to us that we need to talk about and we need to discuss because we are moving into potentially a new era for sales professionals in medical industry. So the friend and a colleague of mine that I invited is Steven Bate, who is a paramedic by trade and a business leader by passion. So he accumulated skills and knowledge in business and medicine, and he has a combined 26 years experience in medical device industry. Currently, Steve is a managing partner at PROACT Sales Management, offering outsourcing solutions for sales management to small, medium, and scaling companies. Please enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments and feedback, and welcome Steven Bate. I am grateful that you joined me today, and I would love to hear your opinion. And I would like to have this friendly conversation, and hopefully, the audience that's going to listen to us, they will also appreciate it, and they will potentially will share more thoughts with us, and we can develop this conversation to something more. Can you please tell me what the main shift that you see during the pandemic in medical sales, and what is the biggest change that you noticed for sales representatives for medical devices?
Yeah. Okay. So, a lot of this again is opinion. It's going to be informed opinion, maybe industry agnostic, for which I'll layer on some medical device industry thoughts. And my key influencers are such as Forrester's Research and McKinsey and Harvard Business Review, among others. Right. But let's be honest with ourselves. Every industry, and it doesn't exclude medical devices, has been turned upside down, right? And that's the way we do things, the way we operate, what we expect of our employees, sales, right through the whole organization. Specific to salespeople, we thrive on the face-to-face interaction, right? Getting in there, digging deep, understanding what the customer's issues are, and hopefully being able to propose a truly valued solution to their issues. But unfortunately, right now, from our regular job duties to Zoom fatigue, everything has been changing and will continue to change, I believe. And it's going to be a long while until we can get back to that face-to-face routine. And when we do, I believe it's certainly going to be different, much different. And I don't think it will ever truly return to normal, because what is 1 year, 2 years down the road of this new routine becomes normal routine at that point. COVID's really just accelerated the trends that began prior to the pandemic. And one of the biggest pieces is that digital transformation, whether it's systems within an organization or the way that we're now selling digitally or remotely. Team composition will be interesting to watch and to focus on, with a possible transitional or shift from individual seller to a team-based approach, from from individual sellers owning the sales opportunity or the sales process and holding most of the cards for that customer or that process, to more of a hybridized team or collective approach where the team owns the sales process and sharing that deck of cards among or across the team and the customer buying journey, right? So, accordingly, disruption from the status quo will occur across all industries, business models, and sales strategies, and selling is going to be very different than it was just 9 months ago. And this may be permanent.
Okay. And what do you think, as you said, there's a trend for moving to a digital world, obviously, but what do you think will be the change when it comes to the buying power of the end user, and how will they react to this change? Because right now we're talking from the perspective of the salespeople of medical device companies, but what do you think will be the trend that the end users and buyers will experience due to this pandemic and due to COVID, obviously, and
Yeah.
restrictions that we have?
So if we're going to take a look at it from a buyer perspective, today's buyer really is not going to have the time or interest in that single sales relationship with each of their individual sales reps, right? They're going to look to the entire sales cycle and expect interaction and value to be added across the team. Because right now, we all know this, we are individual sellers owning the process and the opportunity, going into the account, running back and forth with our other resources, providing answers. And it is somewhat of a siloed sales process, right? Or for the customer, buying process, right? So today's buyers are going to want the information that they share during their buying process, the customer's buying process, be holistically shared and understood across everybody from both sides of the buyer-seller equation, right? So take technology and perhaps there's going to be some enhancement, or we've already said acceleration of technology adoption, but also some, we'll call it reformatting of the sales team to deliver on this expectation. So kind of the case in point is the shift in transition to digital has accelerated from the traditional interactions. Since COVID, they've accelerated twofold, globally, with a note for those companies that are global, threefold in Spain and in the UK.
Yeah.
So, and we have to take into consideration, what does that look like from a seller's or a sales perspective?
Yeah.
So, what's the impact going to be, right?
Well, definitely. And this is why I'm happy we're having this conversation, because what do you think from your perspective? Well, as salespeople right now, they are experiencing this change. What would be the strategy for them to overcome it? Or what, maybe you can share your opinion, what kind of skills or what kind of preparations maybe they need to actually do right now in order to cope with this change and to prepare themselves for, let's say, the next year or the time after COVID, let's call it that way. Because due to those shifts, as you mentioned, the work frame will shift, the digital world will step in. So what should we do? What people in the field should do, in your opinion?
Yeah, from a sales perspective, it's causing companies and individuals or individual sellers to abandon their traditional selling hierarchies, right? To engage in a wide range of employees on behalf of a company's revenue goals. Is no longer a salesperson. I think it's going to evolve to a revenue team that addresses those goals. Another case in point, again from Kinsley Research, is that 96% of business to business sales teams have fully or partially shifted to remote selling. Now, let's think of that, through the lens of the medical device industry. I would suggest 100% have in some way fully or partially shifted to remote selling.
Yeah.
And what I believe that means, I know we're going to get to skills in a second here, but what that means is you're still going to have remote selling and you're going to have face-to-face or in-person selling, but the time in which it happens through the sales cycle is going to change, right? Because the customer no longer is going to reward, and we'll say it, reward, the sales reps that are just showing up or walking the halls. We saw it back in SARS. It did relax. It went somewhat back to normal. Yes, it was tightened down on pre-scheduled appointments, et cetera. But we're going to see it tighten right back up again as well, because right now, the pace and scope of change, as if prior to COVID wasn't hectic enough. Now we're facing fearful buyers, tightened budgets, and partially loss of this on-site meeting, which we all relied upon to build those relationships and to provide evidence of the value
Mm-hmm.
at the front end of the sales
Yeah.
cycle.
But
So,
don't you think that basically removes the salesperson from the equation, or you still think that the salesperson will be playing a key role in this process?
a different role.
A different role? Okay,
We're going to
so
go back
yeah,
to that team-based approach, right? And
yeah,
maybe, and they're all maybes right now. Maybe
mm-hmm.
it's going to
Yeah,
be an account manager that becomes the quarterback of the different players across the process,
mm-hmm.
rather than holding the cards in every single piece of the process.
Yeah,
Right. So remote sales representation will become, is already comfortable for the customer, such as Zoom is every day in their operational life right
yeah,
now. Right.
yeah,
So there's going to be a blending of remote and in-person selling. It's going to be cause the seller to really be succinct with the timing, the effectiveness of that timing, and the way that they position up front, and how they position, how they
mm-hmm.
deliver the message, how they ask intuitive questions to
Yeah,
understand the customer's pain or need. Right.
mm-hmm.
So it comes down to questioning, messaging, and positioning, just like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does face to face. But how are we going to do it different?
But how do you think salespeople can stay competitive in this type of environment? Because as you know, salespeople, they're type A people. They go and they go getter and the doers, and it definitely shifts their perspective on, I guess, the role. Like you said, it shifts slowly. So what do they need to do in order to stay competitive in this type of situation on the market?
So, when you take a look at the strategies, right? We'll use a few sports analogies here.
Yeah.
Sales people, to your point, are as competitive as the pro athlete, right? Because
Yeah.
pro athletes that win, they win by pride and ego, but they also win by, income. And
Yep.
sales is no different, right?
Yep.
So salespeople need to become a quarterback of the buyer-centric sales
Mm-hmm.
strategies. Number one. Number two, keep in mind now that one grand slam or one hat trick rarely wins the series, right? The move from a single sales engagement or single win
Mm-hmm.
to a perpetual motion of revenue generation becomes key. And I can get into that one a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Silo, this isn't sports, but silos are full of dead grain. Okay. So siloed sales routines fall short in delivering buyers value. And we kind of touched on that one already. And then, remote work, disrupts the traditional seller sales role. And I'll very quickly touch on each of these here. So,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about the seller becoming the quarterback, today's buyers don't care about how your internal organization is structured, or what type of sales person is assigned to their account, right? So buyers already have easy access to much of the information
Mm-hmm.
that they need to make a purchasing decision. So buyers need to be, they're actually already comfortable with the digital tools and routes to achieve that. So sellers need to become the quarterback of that, to own the process and deliver the appropriate message
Yeah.
to the customer.
Yeah.
When we talk about the perpetual motion of revenue generation, sounds fancy, but what that really means is taking that one-time sales motion event or win and turning it into, such as winning a contract on one consumable or a capital piece, and
Mm-hmm.
turning that into an ongoing revenue stream,
Mm-hmm.
akin to a subscription type model in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
An example might be Microsoft no longer sells boxes of software. They
Yeah.
subscribe 365. Nestle sells subscriptions to coffee. Budweiser, they sell cloud-based POS subscriptions instead of cases of beer. Netflix, Disney, Spotify no longer sell individual movies or discs. You pay them every month. Amazon Prime, we don't pay for a single shipping. We give them lots of money up front at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
right? And the shipping is already built into the cost of the product. So how does sales adopt and position the value inside a bundled solution or a subscription model delivery? And I think, in my opinion, I think that a strategy that can be used for an organization is similar to that software SaaS strategy, but turn it into, we'll call it a PaaS strategy, product as a service, right? And how can a company bundle the value of everything of product use, consumables, warranty, obsolescence, always current product, etc., into one, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So you're basically saying that right now it's time for medical device companies to make that change, and the pressure is on them. Basically, in order to win this race, that will be up to companies to make that call, right? Like the sooner they can adopt and the quicker they do, most likely those companies who've done it first, they will win, in your opinion?
I, I believe so, and I think evolution is what needs to be forefront. And how are we going to evolve to stay
Yeah.
strategically
Yeah.
ahead of the competition? How are we going to, maybe not as much right now? Products is still important and key, but how are we going to operate and deliver differently? Add value, because the customer doesn't really care where the product comes from. They want flexibility in channel and the convenience and the experience rather than the perfect product. Although product is still important, because if you don't have a great product, well, then you won't even hit that convergent stage of the
Yeah.
buying process, decision process.
Well, definitely. And this is where salespeople, they were playing a crucial role, right? Going and seeing customer and explaining some of the benefits of the product. Because we both know that end users sometimes do not have enough time to go and sit down and evaluate the differences between similar products. And this is where the salesperson would play that role and shift their opinion and show pluses, minuses, difference, etc. And I think this is the part that is definitely being taken away from the picture in some sort, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. And Brooke Simmons from the organization Outreach surveyed 600 salespeople, and 70% of them believe their organization will experience long-lasting changes as a result to COVID-19. So absolutely agree with you, but there also needs to be a strategy, both from the organization and the salesperson approach to sales, on how you're going to operate different in this new environment, understanding that it's probably not going to go back 100%
Yeah.
to the way the way it is, right? Organizations that haven't properly operationalized the sales process have found themselves facing months of lost sales and pipeline activity. And unsurprisingly, they want to fix it and fix it fast. But 72% of these sales reps that have now found themselves forced into partial or full remote selling, 72% have come to the realization that they've pointed the finger on themselves and the need to fill the cracks in their own sales processes and compliance to the organizational process.
Okay. Okay. So let me bring you back to the skills question that I had before. The reason why I wanted to discuss it, because I know many people that watch my channel, they're trying to get into the industry, or they're trying to learn about industry. And obviously, because we are experiencing, like in real time, a huge shift and huge change. What skills do you think salespeople already working in industry need to work on right now? And what skills people that are trying to get into the industry should develop right now in order to succeed, considering all the changes? I know that we are talking about theoretical planning, but I think it's important to mention.
Absolutely. Now we've set the stage, right?
Yeah.
And a new reality does suggest a key focus on a handful of skills, or priority on those skills and traits. And I think in this new environment, the ability for the salesperson to work in a team and their team-based skills become key. Not saying that we don't or we don't espouse that we haven't in the past, but let's face it, traditional salespeople are still, even if they're team oriented, still very individual in
Yeah.
their approach in winning the business, right? So team-based skills, again, although they're always important, they're going to be of greater importance now, and they're going to increase in terms of cross-functional collaboration, influence, and EQ, emotional intelligence. There's going to be a bonus in there if somebody can bring project management experience, education, or skills to the mix, because especially working remotely, you've got to have that project management approach across the sales funnel now, because I believe in this new world, you may be managing or interacting with a number of people doing different functions along the customer journey. And that customer journey has to be holistic, pre-sales to post-sales, just not in between, right? So as well, I'm not saying that there's going to be a mass movement in medical devices to go distribution, but being able to sell across channels is going to be key. And that's leaning back to that suggestion that customers are going to want flexibility on they call it the route or the channel. Right? So understanding and experience as well from an omni-channel perspective, delivering information and influence in marketing across the social networks. All sellers need to know how to make really now here we are a video, interact on social networks and engage in creating kind of collaborative solutions and content to reach the customer. So knowledge of that omni-channel presence and execution. And then, just that proven experience in selling the solution, whether it is a product as a service or a bundled solution where the sum of all the parts is greater than the individual pieces of them, each part is. And I've over the years, I've made a couple great hires from other industries that are used to selling a solution wherein they would place a piece of capital or a system or a device and then tie in all the different pieces that could possibly go to it with obviously incentives to take more of the bundle. So it's going to be uncovering customer needs, positioning solutions, bundling to create a bonded system of solutions with the root of integrated technology. So somebody can bring knowledge and experience in all these pieces.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think that's great. And lots to think about, I find, for everyone. I guess I know we're kind of running to the end of this interview. I just wanted to ask you.
Already?
I know we can probably talk forever about this, because I am actually, well, obviously my life changed due to pandemic and how I operate and my business operates, and I'm sure it's the same for you. And actually, the last question I wanted to ask you was more of a personal question, because I know we covered all the assumptions that we are making right now about the future, about the skills, how people are reacting to this, and how this industry is changing. But the personal question that I wanted to ask is, we all facing this reality that we need to talk to each other through the screen. And it's a very common complaint and concern that I hear from people. People are sick and tired of having this, and they wanted to go and talk to people. Even I feel the hunger to go and see people in real life. And I know for many colleagues of ours, it's a big deal to go and be able to have this real connection. So the question I have for you, how do you cope with this? How do you stay positive? What do you do in how do you make your peace with this new reality when you need to spend quite a bit of time spending on Zoom calls or any platform, you name it? So what's your...
You know what? It's a great question, because I'm organizing a probably a half an hour, we'll see, webinar for mental health and sales. And part of it is due to this change, due to this isolation, and the Zoom fatigue, right? And I'm working with a couple people right now that do executive and organizational presentations and coaching and seminars around this. Because let's face it, the sales function probably holds the most weight and pressure across the organization. And I think part of that comes down to learning, when to break away, right? We can't all work, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. or whatever your hours are, and finding that balance, because we can't be on video calls all day. We have that mix of delivery from deliverables perspective, whether it's reporting or whether it's sales, and we hope that sales makes up greater than the statistical 16% of each salesperson's day, to get it up over 50-60% and keeping the rest for admin. And to accomplish that, I believe it comes down to the sales process. It comes down to your targeting and being very purposeful in your time, and the sales video calls, presentation, virtual sales that you're having, being very focused on who you're doing, or who you're delivering those to, and that you are segmenting and understanding your market, your customers, and targeting those that are of high value, high likelihood.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it is a very ongoing question for everyone, I think, and I appreciate your opinion, and I think you're absolutely right. Just to make those necessary adjustments as you go, and make your peace with it, and just make sure you still stay in touch with people you need to be in front of, I guess, and respect each other's time, and obviously the fatigue that you mentioned. Obviously, everyone is experiencing it. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that it was great to see you. Great to see you. Great to talk to you. And thank you for very valuable, I think, advice to many people. And I just wanted to send a message to everyone who's watching that this situation is affecting everyone, and everyone should find a way how to deal with it and how to adjust to the new reality. And hopefully we will come out of the other end of this situation with new skills, new opportunities, and new exciting things that we can go and tackle in the future. So thank you.
And I'll leave it with one thought here. And this is from actually CEO of HubSpot, marketing focused CRM and industry leader. And this isn't a plug, marketing. But people buy from companies who create incredible end-to-end experiences, not just incredible products or incredible salespeople. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the golden nugget as we figure our way through this, and how do we continue to deliver that incredible experience for the customer from the people, the products, the processes, and the data that we can start to glean that maybe our organizations weren't really leveraging in the past.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Thank you. Well, thanks, Steve, so much. Thank you. I wish you have the great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.